And I have the amazing Laurie Jennings with us today, and we're going to hear about Laurie, how she got started. She is a six-time Emmy Award-winning journalist. She was our Woman of the Year this year. She's a Miami Woman Who Rock. If you've been to any charities, you probably have seen her as the MC. She's president of Laurie Jennings Live, and we welcome Laurie Jennings. Welcome.
Thank you. Congratulations on your own show. This is very exciting. It's a beautiful studio, and it's wonderful that you get to enjoy friends of yours and colleagues every week.
Well, we're so happy that Community Newspapers has partnered with us, because we were producing this, and they've just, I mean, it's wonderful. The whole team here is great, and you see the warm welcome you get when you come in.
Of course, it's wonderful. There's so many studios here. This is such a gem in South Miami, and I know we're going to have a great show. We have good luck, because I came off terrible traffic on the Palmetto. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes to get here from Broward, and I came off, and I got onto 72nd Street, and all of a sudden into those cul-de-sacs and the beautiful trees. And then all of a sudden this big peacock was right in the middle of the road. And that's the best part of South Miami, Coconut Grove. I lived in Coconut Grove forever. And then right when we had our little babies, we realized my husband was working up in Broward, and Channel 10 moved up to Hallandale Beach Boulevard. And I realized we cannot be doing all this back and forth and back and forth. So we've been up there for about 10 years now. And I just know maybe when the boys go off to college, we're going to find a way to scoot back here to the peacocks and the trees, because but all of South Florida, it's just so beautiful, isn't it? We wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
No, absolutely not. We have so much to talk about.
I know, we could go in 20 million directions.
What's beautiful about Spotlight TV is that we really let our audience get to know you, a little bit of your story, your why. You're such an accomplished journalist. And I would love to hear how, your why, your passion, how you got started, and, I don't think I've ever heard your story.
I was a big actress and singer in high school, Greenwich High School in Greenwich, Connecticut. It was like a college. I mean, about 1,000 kids per grade. They put on huge productions. I was lucky enough to be the star of almost every major show. People said, forget college, go off to Broadway. But I was smart too, and I really liked school. I mean, I wanted to be at school, and I loved writing, and I loved everything. So I thought, I'm just not ready to go to New York City and peddle my wares and peddle my 8x10 everywhere quite yet. I really just knew I wanted to go to a great school. And up in New England, of course, you're surrounded by all the Ivy League schools, and I knew I could get in. So I thought, I really need to do this. So I went off to Cornell, did a lot of theater, but also I was a government major, learning about current political systems and poli-sci kind of things. And all of a sudden, there was a big ad in the school newspaper with a microphone, and it said, come get trained to be a radio DJ or a newscaster. And after all my years on stage, I thought from high school, I just knew I could do that. So I went into the radio station, and kind of like walking into this place, and I just felt it. I knew that I could do this. And I learned how to write for radio. And then Cornell had a great program in Washington, D.C. I did my first TV internship, and that sealed the deal. And I walked in back then to WUSA in Washington, D.C., pizza boxes everywhere. Everyone was smoking. It was loud and crazy. Most people would run for the hills, Emily. Most people would be like, this is nuts. I loved the adrenaline. I loved it. And I thought, this is for me. And from then on, I went to grad school, got a master's in journalism, started in Youngstown, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Boston. No, take it back. Youngstown, Cleveland, Miami, came to Channel 7, and then Youngstown, Cleveland, Boston, came to Miami, Channel 7, went to New York with MSNBC, and came back to Miami to be the main anchor at Channel 10 for 15 years. And it really just started with, I just loved telling stories. I loved being on stage, but also just being able to be in the center of the action and know that I could hold a whole audience in the palm of my hand and carry their emotions, and with my writing, with my storytelling. And I really just love here in our community as a main anchor that you are the face of that station. And then I hope I'm still a face and a voice in our community. And so people come to you, and it feels really, really good when you make a few calls for someone, that you have that influence and that you can make change and you can help people and help their lives. And now I love helping people professionally, like you. I mean, you just took on this show. It's fantastic. But others have come to me and said, can you help me? I'm going live on this show. I'm being interviewed. What can I do? Can you work with me? I worked with a young author in up in Fort Lauderdale. She writes children's books, but she's so afraid of being out in public and pushing her wares, pushing her books. So we worked together, and I brought it out in her, and that feels great. I love sharing my knowledge on camera with other people and other professionals.
That's wonderful. And you have such a presence about you. I mean, I'm looking at you and you're captivating me in your eyes, and TV has changed a lot over the years. So how do you stay relevant? What are some of the things that you do to, keep on top of it? And
well, when COVID happened, and right after when I stepped away from the news after 15 years at Channel 10, and I knew that I had generally done everything I really wanted to do in the news business. I thought I would be doing it until I was old and gray, but your kids need you, your aging parents need you, and reality just really hit. And so I thought, I'm blessed that I can step away from a full-time job. So I'm going to enjoy my family. My boys are identical twins, so we're doing college applications right now, and they're going to leave us next year together. I'm going to be an empty nester within a second. I mean, they're just gone. So we really want to enjoy this time with them, and they really appreciate it. So I made the move to step away and start my own business. Ladies like you and I we can't go from 110 miles an hour to 5, right? So maybe now I'm going 80 miles an hour instead of 110. But I still enjoy all my projects, all my charitable work. And I mostly love working with local businesses, either as their face and their voice in commercials and billboards and branding, and also one-on-one. I just love doing executive media training, coming in and coaching kind of behind the scenes and helping people be their best on camera. And I mentioned COVID. I mean, that's when it clicked in, because that happened and everyone's home. And as you know, I mean, everybody's online, and all of our charitable events wanted to go live. They still wanted to do their events live. So I did one for Chapman Partnership, and it went really well. But there were glitches, because when you toss to your main speaker in Palm Beach County and she's saying, "Hey, hello, is anybody there? I can't hear anything," and that's really tough. So I can tap dance with anything, and that's the joy of news training and knowing how to go live. But you really have to have a whole production team that is used to sports programming. Ideally, they're used to a football game or a basketball game, right, where it's click, 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 click. And you have to go live online like that. It has to be so top notch. It's not even funny. So, but I appreciate that a lot of charities tried it. It is so much better to record as live, and record it as is live, and then edit those little things and get it on. But that was something fun where my skills really came in handy. Everything from Broward County Library asking me to host these live. I would just talk. I would just talk into a camera at home for an hour and take people's questions, because people were lonely and people needed a voice. And the library started that, so I did that for them. I started reading children's books in my own home on a camera with my little ring light, and I started feeding those to local hospitals. Within 48 hours, I was in 6 hospitals and children's places like Chapman Partnership. And I was
Chapman.
Yes, we love Chapman. It's really such a special place for where homeless families, not just targeted on adults, but the whole family can stay as a unit. And it is such a beautiful place. So I felt so good that every lunchtime they would take a break and watch Stories with Laurie. And that's still on YouTube. That's still available. I saw one story where I was speaking in Spanish or Spanglish. It was La Cucaracha. And it was this cute book about this pretty little cucaracha, a cockroach who becomes the butterfly or something. It was really a fun book. And that book has something like 20,000 views. I mean, a lot of them have 1,000 views, but 20,000 views. So I guess people like to hear my Spanglish and my little cucaracha.
I would listen to you read anything. We were one of the first organizations to pivot during COVID. And I'll never forget this. We had our living room soiree, Denim and Diamonds, and we had catered meals. I mean, you name it. And we completely pivoted to do online. And what you're saying is absolutely true. It was so much more work than a live event. I didn't think it could be more work than... But we had talent, and it was for autism, for the Lotus children, and it was so touching because we had the families there, and it was just unbelievable. And we had talent. We had people playing the guitar, doing it was like a whole thing, and everybody got dressed up. We had bling rings,
but to produce that live. Right?
Oh, it was,
so much
we went live. It was a lot of work, and there were glitches along the way. And you're sweating it without a doubt more than,
And you really don't know how it looks going out online necessarily. It's very nerve-wracking, and there's that sense of dead air. As a longtime newswoman and producer, I can't stand dead air. Even a beat. You don't want that pause. You want everything to flow really nicely. I remember, you're right, being live for an event, and I needed to show the gifts, the things that we were auctioning off. And I realized they were about 50 feet over there. Well, I can't. So imagine, I have to leave the camera if I'm going to go get them, and there will be nothing on the camera. And no one had thought of that. So I'm kind of like, I'm clicking. I hate clicking at people, but I'm clicking at the couple ladies around. I'm like, bring. And so finally, they had to move this little table out of view right next to me, so I could lift up and do my little Vanna White thing and try to raise some money. But things like that, you just don't think about. They had this beautiful table set up, but there was no way to show it. So, everything changes when you go live. And that is one thing that a huge value that I think I bring to a lot of companies and businesses, because very few people can go live and can really tap dance. We can all go on camera a little bit if it's going to be edited later, right? But look what you're doing. You're doing it live, lady.
We are live.
You are great.
Speaking of live, okay, I came in this morning and these beautiful Emmy awards are on the table. We've got to talk about this because what was it like the first time? The first time that you
these three. You see the beautiful black here and the way they're written and the way they're done in this gold and black. I looked at my other three at home are from Cleveland, Ohio, when I first started and was really doing a lot of reporting work out in the street. And they are much simpler and just all gold and a little smaller. But
just a few Emmys.
Yeah, so it's fun. I didn't bring them all, but it is fun. These are even more stellar looking.
But the first time must have been...
The first time I won one was for, there were two in Cleveland, and I wonder which one was first, but one was for Child Lures. And it was a 10-part series. 5 reporters each did 2 parts, and it was all about stopping children from being kidnapped or lured into a car, lured away. And it was so powerful. It was the best special, and it really just made an impact in Cleveland and in the community. And then the other one was for a much lighter topic. It was Jacobs Field. Cleveland is a big sports town, and when they built the new Jacobs Field for baseball, it was huge. And I got to highlight and be with a dad and son who, this was their bond. This was their thing together. And he was maybe 18, and his dad was older, and they just watching the two of them, that was my part of a larger half-hour special that was really powerful, and that won our first Emmys. So it sets you apart. We all know they can be a random system, and sometimes you think the things that are going to win don't, and vice versa, but it's wonderful to feel awarded after all your hard work, because that kind of reporting is like having a baby, I have to say. You end up working on a project for 8, 9, 10 months, and it's so different than nightly news and daily reporting. Most reporters were all used to general assignment reporting, and you have no idea that morning if you are going to be chasing down drug dealers on some crazy story, in a weird neighborhood, or you're going to be interviewing the president or a secretary of state coming to Miami. You have to have your car packed for everything. You have to have all kinds of different shoes, different outfits, because you just don't know when you walk in the door every morning what you're going to do. And I liked that. I like not knowing. I like the adrenaline of figuring things out every day. But you have a few hours to do a story and get it on the air.
Clearly your purpose, your passion. There's no doubt, that you do this, and you do this with all your heart. I've seen everything a lot of things. I'm such a fan. And what I love about it is exactly that enthusiasm and that passion. And, we were talking a little bit before going on air about just how much your heart is involved with all the things that you report on and the charities you give back to.
And today, obviously today we can't not talk about Israel. It is just horrific what is going on, and it's affecting everyone. And it's so hard to explain to children. My boys are so confused. My boys are 17, and they're just seeing all of this on social media. And to a point, we're trying to live our lives, and we get through these college applications and do things, and they have so much work on them. They're so stressed. They have so much going on, and they do a lot of charitable work during the week. And then they're seeing this, and they're literally wondering if they're going to be drafted into some type of World War III. This is what everyone's talking about on social media, and all the kids are talking about, the teenagers, and it's really scary. And you can't really tell them they won't be. You can't really say, you try to say, you just stay informed and let's watch and let's feel. I saw University of Miami had a beautiful vigil last night. Our global empowerment mission, Michael Capone in our community, is doing tremendous work. His people are already there. And I did want to let people know that's a great place as a South Floridian. If you'd like to give of your heart and your wallet, Global Empowerment Mission, GEM. They are already on the ground. They're on the ground in Ukraine. They're there on the west coast of Florida when the hurricane happens. I mean, he has really developed an incredible international network. And then also I noticed that the Greater Miami Jewish Federation has an emergency Israeli fund going on right now. So those are places you can actually give and feel like you're helping in some tangible way. Other than that, we have to stay together. And we have to be beautiful to each other and remind each other of our humanity, because this is insanity what's going on, and it's such ugliness. But I watched Norah O'Donnell on social media last night telling the story of, and she was there for CBS News. They're talking about a 24-year-old Brazilian girl who was one of 260 killed in that music festival.
Horrible.
And she said, the 24-year-old and her parents had just moved to Israel. The mom doesn't know anyone yet. And in order to have an official Israeli religious funeral, she needed 10 people. And she didn't know 10 people in Israel. So she went on Facebook and asked for 10 people to come to this funeral. And there were thousands.
Wow.
Thousands.
What a story.
And I could just feel, that's the kind of thing, it's so hard to hold those emotions back when you're delivering the news. And I could feel Norah wanted to cry, but she kept moving, as I would, and you just have to hold it together. But the emotion was incredible. And as much as I wouldn't mind being in her position right now and being in the heart of this to bring those kind of stories to people, I'm also very blessed that I get to be home and I'm not there, you know, and it's scary because news people we used to have a shield around us. Even at local news, national news, you always felt protected. Like nobody would shoot at a news person. Nobody would shoot at a news crew.
Right.
But it has happened now. And sometimes that's an awful way where people get attention. And the whole feeling has just shifted so much. And when you're dealing with such a radical element and such an ugliness and evil, you don't know what's happening. So there is no safety anywhere. But thank goodness for our journalists who have that dire need to be in the thick of it, and that need to share what's going on in the world firsthand. And kudos to them, because it is rough work. Very rough.
We have such a great community. I mean, you talk about these organizations, and I mean, I know I had to take a few days away from social media just because after seeing all the images, I mean, my heart, was broken.
Tears.
And I was talking to my son, and, and I thought about, he's 27, what that generation has had to see between a world pandemic and then now all this. And he just said, it's very hard to know how to deal with the mental health aspect of this and the kids and the children. I can't even imagine, having the smaller kids, at home and being able to, having to explain, because how do you explain? You just try to protect as much as possible and let them know that the world, that you're going to do everything you can to make the world a better place.
Right. And with the school shootings they witness and the pandemics, you're right. It's bad enough when it's right in our community and it is an awful shooting or something they hear about, somewhere in our country. Then this is so far away, and yet they sense that ugliness is pervasive and that there's a feeling. And it's all you can do is keep hugging them and kissing them and telling them that they are safe and protected, and as much as we can, and that we have to find, again, the beauty in this world and the humanity. And keep coming together. Right?
Beautifully said, and beautifully said in a difficult time. Talking about difficult times, I'm sure that in this career, there have been challenges. How have you handled disappointments? And as you've worked and had a very successful career, I'm sure you've had some challenges. What are some of the ways that you deal with disappointment?
I think, probably the most challenging part of my career was when I decided to leave the network and come back to South Florida to be at Channel 10. I was pregnant with triplets naturally. And a lot of people forget that. They know I have these twin boys, but see, you didn't know that.
I did not.
And I was in New York City at the network, got pregnant. We'd only been there a year. My husband was here in Miami. His business was doing well. I was at the network. It was our first year of marriage. We waited about a year. We tried to get pregnant, and boom, triplets. And to me, that was God telling me, you're not just meant to be a mom, you're meant to be a mom. And I'm looking around in New York City and I'm trying to think, how am I going to stroll 3 children through these streets and the mud and the snow, and you know how New York gets so mucky out there. And I'm looking at our apartment and the little tiny elevator that goes up, and I'm thinking, how is this going to happen? Yeah. And at the same time, my best friend was leaving New York. Things were changing at the network. Channel 10 called me and asked if I would come be their main anchor. And those jobs only come up once about every 15 years. And it's funny that I stepped away after exactly 15 years. There's just kind of about a 15-year turnover sometimes in a main anchor position. And they asked me to come back to Miami. They said, "Oh, we know your husband's here. Would you please come back?" And I did. And I'm so glad I did. Right after I came back, though, right after we announced on air with this huge bucket of diapers, and we did a big party on air with Dwight Lauderdale and my whole staff at Channel 10 to announce that I was pregnant with triplets. About a week or two later, I lost them at just 19 and a half weeks. And I'll never know why. It just happened. But I was, that was hard to share on air with everyone, but I did. And people would always tell me when I spoke about my babies or my personal life, my whole being changed, my tone of voice changed. And it is true. It's not the anchor woman, it's life. And people were so wonderful and so supportive. And the next time, it felt like forever, but 7 months later, we were blessed with these identical twin boys. People say we'd never have identicals again. There's no way. It was just a fluke, but we did. So everything with my husband and I, everything seems to split and sometimes split again because it was all together in one sack, very high risk when they're sharing a world. It's not like IVF where they have their own world. So it was very high risk. And that pregnancy, all of a sudden at 24 weeks, everything happened. So it's an emergency C-section. We were at South Miami Hospital. A few days, they said if they survive 3 days, if they survive 72 hours, then we're going to need to move them to Baptist because we can't keep babies under 2 pounds. They were the size of this microphone, exactly. They were like this size. They were 1 pound 9, 1 pound 12 ounces. And I mean, it was dicey. It was really dicey. And after about a month in, you'd think you'd be in some safe territory. One boy was doing okay. The other boy, all of a sudden, had all kinds of problems. I mean, he was so swelled up and turning purple. They couldn't get a blood pressure off of him.
Oh, wow.
And they brought in a chaplain to give us a final prayer. And they said, there's nothing more we can do for him. If he happens, by the grace of God, to make it through the night, we're going to need to remove one lung. I was like, I just thought, this doesn't happen. This just doesn't happen. And I just stayed all night long and I kept my hands on the incubator and I sang. There was a singer in me. I sang all night long, the same lullaby all night long. And the nurse who had been with Jake for 24 hours already, she wouldn't go home. She said, I'm going to stay and I cannot leave him. So she stayed another 20. She worked 48 hours to be with my son. And in the middle of the night, a heart specialist came in and he said, I just gave your son an injection straight into his heart. He said, it's either going to kill him or it's going to get him through the night. And it got him through the night. And the next morning, this infectious diseases guy came. Yeah. I know, I'm sorry.
No, I'm with you.
Oh, I didn't mean to tell this story, but he came and he put Jake on an antibiotic he had never put a baby on before. And he said, I think this is going to do it. And within 48 hours, Jake was a new baby. He is 6 feet tall, healthy as a rock now.
Senior boys. I mean, thank you for keeping it. I mean, I can't thank you enough for sharing that story because I did not know that. And, you keep it real and, and I look at them now and here they are getting ready to go off to college.
But, and during that time, like Dwight Lauderdale was the best. I mean, he would read every one of my scripts and have everything ready, catch any mistakes so that if I needed to, most nights I would go do the 5 and 6 o'clock news. I would race to Baptist. I mean, we ate dinner at Baptist every single night, Saturdays and Sundays, every single day for 4.5 months. And you just wait and wait and wait to try to get in to see your babies. And Dwight would have everything ready so that if all went well, I could leave the hospital. I had it timed down. I could leave Baptist by 10:20 p.m. and be in my chair at 1 minute to 11. And I just read the news. And then I was right back home and right back to the hospital the next day. And if I couldn't get there, if there were crises happening at the hospital, I just gave a phone call and they said, we got it. And Dwight would just carry the show. And the station
He is amazing.
He is amazing. He's so wonderful. And they just carried me through the whole thing. And they were so supportive. And it's only that way. And with my amazing husband, I mean, he would go at night off and I'd be in there all day. I mean, there's no other way to get through things like that and still have a
I mean.
massive career. So I was very, very blessed to have their support through that. And during that time, you just dig deep and you have faith. Like I knew Jake wasn't going to die. I thought, I've had such a blessed, wonderful life. I can accept that that those 3 babies weren't meant to be here for whatever reason. But God does not give you 3 babies when I didn't do anything to affect myself, and then hand you twins and take those 2. I mean, there's no way. He's not going to bring me 5 babies and take them all. That's just not how. That can't be. So I just kept the faith, and I kept praying and singing.
Faith is so important. I mean, and what I love about Miami Women in Rock is that, from Trish Bell to, some, Mari Lopez, all the women that are involved are, it's not about religion, but it is about faith. Yes. And they're, women of faith. And I know, for me, whatever, every setback is worthy of a comeback. And I've had my share. But one of the things is, faith is the difference, right? Yes. If you believe it can change, it will.
It is.
So,
it's faith and keeping a positive attitude and just lifting yourself up and looking for inspiration around you and in the world, in that peacock I just saw, and in a beautiful day, and in wonderful people like Marile Lopez and Trish Bell, these wonderful women in our community that we're so blessed to know. And you are really, truly, I mean, kudos to you, Emily, for bringing women together. It can never fail to bring women together to support each other. And it's so important to do that because as women, we get so busy with our families and our husbands and our parents and that sandwich generation, and we forget to take care of ourselves. And what if that was gone? And especially what if a husband passes before you and you haven't kept those female relationships going? You suddenly don't have them. It's so important to keep those female relationships going personally and professionally. And you do a really great job of bringing very, very influential, effective, inspiring women together, but you focus on the inner woman, not so much the profession. You want them to have a network, but you really do a beautiful job of reminding us what's really important. And it is that faith.
And now, speaking of profession, I can't go a couple blocks without seeing the Leon. I went to the gym the other day, and I'm pulling up, and they're right there beside me. I feel like you're on the road with me. So we have a few minutes. Tell us about what you're doing. And I'm very big into healthcare. Yes. I always say, rock your health, rock the world, because it starts with that, right? And so that's one of our mottos and something that we've always lived by for the last 15 years. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing and where do you see that going in the future?
I have a beautiful relationship with Leon Health and the whole Leon family. To visit their medical centers is incredible. It is truly white glove treatment. And it's so nice to see how they handle their clients, and mostly seniors, and coming in and having your free cafecito and pastelito and having dominoes to play and having your dental care there. I mean, the medical centers are incredible.
My dad went there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. And I bet he loved it.
He loved it.
They want to go every day.
Well, that was the thing.
They don't want to leave.
My dad was, he was, I lost him during COVID, but he was one of the, and I'm like, where are you going? He goes, I'm going to go. And he would go and hang out there. And he goes, you don't understand. I'm helping out with the other people. I said, do they know that? Do they know you're at stuff? Yeah.
And those are the medical centers. And then I represent Leon Health and their Medicare program. And even though I'm not old enough yet for Medicare, it's really nice to kind of let people know, as the newswoman in town, the news source and a credible source. I love bringing my professionalism to their brand and working together. And it's been wonderful. So that's been about, 2.5, 3 years now. And that's the kind of relationship I like to have with local businesses, so I can help lift them up and they have hopefully my brand behind them as well. So it's a beautiful thing, and they are growing, and it's open enrollment right now. So you're going to see a lot of commercials. That time between October and I think February or so is pretty busy. So I hope you don't get tired of hearing my voice on the news. And the funny thing is now I'm on every channel because these commercials run everywhere. I'm on Spanish TV. I've even been on a few Spanish commercials, which is funny to me. And I get to say a few words in Spanish and show that my Spanglish works. And so you'll see a lot of me now. People still think I'm on the news because they look up and see me everywhere. So a lot of people still now say, I watch you every morning. I watch you every night. Oh, I know, you're Channel 10. I watch you. And I just nod and say, thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
Well, we're just wrapping up now. So is there anything that you wish I had asked you that I didn't and, that you want to share with us?
I would just say I feel very, very blessed to live in this community. I absolutely love South Florida, and I hope people will always think to give me a call, reach out to me on social media, connect with me at Laurie Jennings Live. That's the name of my company, because that's me. I'm live, as we talked about. You get to have me live. So connect, and I'll stay connected with you, and maybe we can work together on some projects, and whether they're live charitable events or a live corporate event and a live show, that's really my passion.
Thank you so much. You've been here on Spotlight with Laurie Jennings Live, and a real pillar in the community, a real rock star, a woman that I truly admire, respect, and have learned so much from. So I can't thank you enough for being on and for sharing so much and being open and sharing all that you did. We will see you next week on Spotlight TV. Thanks for joining us.